Hey guys, it's Matt from Pixel Legends, and I'm here with Alistair.
Hello.
Nice to meet you, sir. So we just played your game, Code Bash, Codex Bash. I just asked before we started too, and that's how bad I am. I'm glad I got your name right at least.
That's, right. That's the important bit.
So in case people haven't seen it, but it's a game with a bunch of buttons. Well, basically, rather than having a controller in your hand, you decided to go with buttons that you're going to be spreading out throughout the room.
Yeah.
So where was the inspiration for that idea?
This time last year, I did a game for a festival up in Nottingham. It was called Dash and Bash, and it was a kind of local multiplayer game. So it took over a small room, about 2 meters by 2 meters. There were monitors up on the walls. There was a button on each wall, and people had to run around hitting the buttons mounted on the walls, and they all end up bumping into each other in the middle of the room. And it was so fun doing that, and people loved it so much that I thought, I want a version of this that I can stick in a rucksack. So I took the concept of those, wall-mounted buttons and turned them into these kind of wireless modules that I could stick in a rucksack, take out anywhere. If I wanted to play it in a park, I can tie them to trees. If I want to take it into a school, then I can, attach it to the tables and chairs in the classroom, that kind of thing. And then the game kind of evolved as, I guess I was experimenting with, about 5 or 6 different prototypes using that hardware, and then this was the one that kind of people really clicked with, because just got a kind of teamwork aspect. People seem to really like that. This game, the original idea with this one was it was meant to be a single player game where the player was having to constantly switch between mental activity and physical activity. But what came out of it is, one of my design philosophies is you should never tell a player not to do something. And what players were doing was they were dragging in friends to help. I was like, well, this is brilliant, because I haven't even told people to be socially active, and they're being socially active, and they're sharing this experience. So I kind of tweaked and massaged the game into something that was very much more where you would have to drag in people to help you, but not telling people, oh yeah, you need 2 or more people before you can play. Just saying, go nuts, and letting them figure out for themselves that they need someone to help.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was a cool aspect, because that's what dragged us into it in the first place. So originally you designed it as a single player game, and then kind of it evolved from there. And do you find that happens a lot when you design these kind of games that oftentimes people think of solutions or think of aspects of the game that maybe you hadn't originally intended when you designed it?
Yeah, I think that's something I've kind of learned to become very open to during my career as a developer. In improvised comedy, one of the things I always talk about is yes and. The idea that, if another comedian comes up with something in the improv, you never deny them that thing. Yeah. They have that thing is a truth, and then you add to it.
You have to add to it.
And it's the exact same thing, the players, I take a game to my space, I am one of the improv comedians, but the players are the other improv comedians. They do stuff that they think is funny. They do stuff that they think is entertaining, they do stuff that they think is enriching. And, I am not going to stand in their way and say, no, that's not what the game's about, because that's what they want the game to be.
And if that's fun, that works, right?
Yeah. And so then you add to that. You sort of say, okay, well, what's going to exacerbate these things that make it so special for them? What's going to, take that thing that they really enjoyed and make them have to think about that a bit more, or make them have to be a bit more creative using that idea as the game goes on.
So what's the future for this kind of game then? Is it something that you would take to special events? Is it something that you would be able to make at home, or is this kind of a thing that you personally have built for yourself and your activities?
So, I think what I would like to do is, take it around to different events, take it around to festivals. If I can have it installed in galleries, in museums and things, that would be fantastic. That's really, because my background as a developer, I've been running this one-man studio for the past 5 years, doing a lot of stuff originally for iPhone and iPad, and I kind of, over time, I've started to feel like, making games as kind of consumable products, it's fine, it's fine, but I feel like there's new adventures to be had creating games for specific locations or specific purposes. And, when you have a physical environment, how can I turn that space into something that is, interesting to play in? And that is I don't know, it's a challenge that I feel like, there's so much to be done in, and I'm so hungry to do that. So that's really where my intentions lie.
Yeah, and there's a lot more, I guess, freedom, I guess, in that too, because you're not limited by, a single screen, a mouse and keyboard, an iPad, you're not limited by one set of rules. You can then kind of open yourself up to a lot more creative ideas because of that. So
you're going like, what kind of interaction do I want to happen? What kind of interaction between the players and the game, or interaction between the players and each other? And then go like, okay, then what tools can I use, or what tools can I make to allow people to do that? And that's why there ended up being quite a few physical components in Codex Bash. So there's a bit where you have to use a keyboard, there's a bit where there's like spy profiles on bits of paper, and there's circuit diagrams to read through. And the reason those are there is to make sure that one player is going to have to move away from the buttons, and then you're adding in this kind of delegation challenge where the players have to figure out what's the best way to delegate the task of reading the puzzle, solving the puzzle, and then executing the sequence.
Who's going to take charge of that, figuring it out thing, and who's going to press the buttons? And
so that was all hardware that was created to create that interaction.
So you have the end goal in mind first, and you build the game based off of what you'd like to see, rather than have a game and just like hope the players do exactly what you're wanting them to do.
Exactly, and then the players will do stuff, and that stuff will inspire you, and then you get new end goals, and it just constantly snowballs.
It just builds and builds from there. That's really cool. Well, Alistair, what was the name of your company? Do you have a name for it, or is it just yourself?
It's just me, Alistair Aitcheson.
All right, well, thank you very much. Codex Bash, I'm going to get the name right this time. And yeah, it's great here at Indiecade in 2015. Thank you.
Thank you.